Okay, a little bit different of an intro for you today. If you haven't already guessed, which I've probably put it in the title description, we're going to be changing a fuel tank today in the 95 Grand Am. Yippee yay. Not that difficult to do, but it's a pain. So I don't really want to do it, but I have to. We've got a leak in this one. I know you saw the video. Well, if you watched the car videos, you've seen where I replaced the fuel tank filler neck. That's pretty easy. This is a totally different leak, unfortunately, so we've got to go with that. And a little update on the GoPro vids. I know some of you guys have been wanting to see those, but honestly, I mean, you may think I'm fibbing. I haven't had time. I've got one with the mountain biking. That's about it. I may try to post that, but I accidentally recorded it in HD, and it's huge. And the other reason is the track's been closed. I mean, if it's not raining, which they close when it rains because it's a groomed track, they're closed for the weekend. If it doesn't rain, it seems like then they're closed. They do have a set schedule. They weren't open this past weekend, which I would have been able to probably ride one day if they'd been open. But like the weekend before, they were open half a day Sunday because of all the rain we got on Friday. In Ohio, it's just, Central Ohio's been raining a lot lately. So a lot of grass cutting, unfortunately, goes along with that. So anyway, enough of that. And I do have some house projects. That's, not another excuse, but unfortunately it is. I work a lot during the week, so, my weekends are taken up. So, the motorcycle riding comes last, basically. Okay, back to the video. First thing you want to do, obviously, is you want to jack up the car good and high. Use some jack stands. I know I don't use them in all my videos. Most of them I do, but some of them I don't. This job, you definitely want to do it. And these procedures are very similar on most cars. I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same, but they're pretty similar on just about any car you come across. After you've got that jacked up, obviously, some other things that you want to have beforehand. If you get in a tank, new tank, some tank straps, and probably a fuel filter while you're at it. I've got that in the bag there. It is a metal tank, so I recommend a new one. Usually the salvage yard will drill a hole in them to drain out of the gas, but also you may get another rusty one. So if it's a plastic tank, then go for it. Get you one from the salvage yard, no big deal. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this passenger side rear wheel. It just seems like I got better access that way. Really no reason for it other than that. Another thing you may want to do beforehand, which I don't know if I'll be able to catch this, I am using my standard definition camera right now. I don't want to mess up my my other Canon, my Vixia, so I'm using my, I think it's the FS20 or I forget which one it is. I've done a review on it. So if the quality's not quite as good, that's why. This camera I don't care much about. So again, this is the standard definition. Still should be fairly decent, it's just the lighting's not the greatest. You see up there that shiny part, that is the tank strap. It's wet because what I like to do first, or what you should do probably, the bolts are pretty rusty. Go ahead and hit them with some penetrating oil. That way if you don't have an impact, or if you do have an impact, you have less chance of breaking off the bolt. But it also makes it come off easier. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this wheel, and then we'll go from there, so stay tuned. Next up, make sure you have a couple empty gas cans. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the fuel filter, and hopefully, and I'm not for sure, like I said, I'm not a car expert, I just do quite a bit of work on my kids' cars. Hopefully this we'll be able to drain all of the gas out this way. I'm not for certain, or at least most of it. I don't think so though, because actually I know so, because without the fuel pump on, it won't do it. But anyway, I'll show you how to disconnect this. On a Ford, you need a special tool. This is a GM, so I'm not sure how well you can see it. You should have a little gray clip that is on the outside. You just push it in, and then you pull it out. And then make sure you have something to catch the fuel, which I'm making a mess here. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this drained out as best we can, and then we'll be back. Hopefully you can hear me. I don't have an external mic on this camera either, so again, apologize. I just don't want to use the good camera for such a dirty job. So stay tuned. Okay, as I suspected, draining that line just doesn't do anything. I would have to have the fuel pump on, which I thought so. I haven't messed a lot with fuel tanks, so bear with me. So what I'm going to try to do is leave, there's not a whole lot in here, maybe 1/4 of a tank, which is quite a bit, but I'm going to try to leave it in there and lower it down with another jack. Just because I don't feel like fiddling with it right now, and the gas in there is probably pretty yucky. So the next thing I'm going to do is, as in with the, when I replaced that filler neck, is see the 2 clamps. There's one on the small hose, one on the large hose. I'm going to undo those and undo the actual hoses. And that'll be the next step. Unfortunately, I won't be able to really catch that on camera because I don't have a tripod low enough really to go under the car. But I mean, if you watch the other video, and it's pretty self-explanatory, so you'll probably figure it out. And by the way, if you want to see where the leak is on this tank, see this white stuff? That's where I tried to repair it, and it did not work. It was that water welt stuff. It just doesn't work. You just got to get a new tank. So stay tuned for the next steps. Okay, we got the hoses disconnected. Now the next step that I'm going to do, you can see that bolt there. Hopefully this camera catches it. Again, I'm not using my good camera. There's one of those on each side, and that holds those straps onto the tank. You can see I've got the tank supported with my other jack right there. And we'll go ahead and undo that, and we'll see what happens. Cross your fingers. Stay tuned. Okay, first of all, I apologize for the noise in the background. My neighbor is mowing his lawn, so he may come back around and you may hear that. Unfortunately, as I kind of guessed this would happen, I had to actually end up cutting the straps. The bolts are totally frozen in there. Actually, they're stripped out. I was able to get them undone with an impact and a breaker bar, but they're just too far gone. So I had to drop the tank. I cut the straps, and I'm going to have to drill those out. I would have loved to have drilled them out before I dropped the tank, but it was impossible. Just tank was in the way. So the next step is going to be to take out the fuel pump. Now I could undo all these hoses, which wouldn't be too bad, and I choose not to do it. Now a lot of fuel tanks, you'll actually need to take a screwdriver. There'll be a locking ring here, and then you tap it with a hammer. This one actually uses an O-ring, and I've already undone most of it here. You just use a set of O-ring pliers, and then squeeze them together. One side's out. And you can also use a small pick, will probably work if you don't have those. And we've got both out. And go ahead and wiggle that. Here's the O-ring. Right there. And we should be able to turn the fuel pump. Maybe you don't even have to turn it. Yeah, you don't even have to turn it. We can pull it right out. Let me see if I can sit you down here. Place where you can actually see. Again, I apologize, I do not have a tripod small enough, and I wasn't really prepared for this. This is a last minute thing. So here's the pump. See if we can get this bad boy out of here without breaking anything. You may have to turn it. No, I don't think you do. No, you don't. There. Be sure to save that O-ring. Go ahead and pull the pump out. Now unfortunately I don't have enough room down here for the camera and to pull this out, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, and then we'll go from there, so stay tuned. Okay, we've got the nasty dirty tank out. I'll have to take off those rubber straps, I guess, and just stick them on the new one. There's the new one. Aside from them being the dirty, the main difference that I can notice, the OEM version does have like a plastic insert in there, whereas the stock does not. But a great deal. AutoZone $107.99, and they had it in stock today, which is what I needed. Reason being is my daughter's getting a new exhaust put on her car, and they can't do it with a leaky gas tank. It is not made in China. It's actually made in good old Canada. So there it is. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drill out those bolts, and then we'll get to prepping the new one, so stay tuned. Okay, sorry for the noise again. It's kind of windy out. It is, of course, raining. It's starting to rain again. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, I've cut out, I didn't let you see, about an hour and a half of the video, because that's about how long it took me to drill those out with the drill. Went through a couple bits, metal bits at that. I was going to grind, and I do have the tank all the way out, obviously, but you know, you still have the fuel lines and that, and I just didn't want to take the chance on throwing a spark and whatnot. So then there's the new bolts. Let me turn the light on the camera here. That works. There's the new bolts up there. I've just got those in there. There's just some that I had in the garage, and we're pretty much all set there. Again, about an hour and a half. Everything else has been pretty much real time. So, you know, as far as taking the tank down, I mean, you know, it's pretty quick. It's just this area right here. You can see I've got quite a mess on the floor here. It's just a total mess. So the next thing we're going to do is put the tank straps in before we actually slide the tank over. It makes it a little easier to get the straps in. So I'll show you how to do that. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Okay, here are the new straps. Sorry for the shaky camera. And what we're going to do, as you can see, hopefully you can see, again, I'm not using my normal camera, that right there, see that slot? Well, we're not going to put the straps all the way in, we're just going to put the fronts in. And the way you do that is, hopefully I can do this one-handed. You slide it in, and you just turn it. And it can be, there we go. And we're just going to let them hang there, like such. And that's really all there is to it. And we'll go ahead and put the other one in, and then we'll come back and put the fuel pump in. So stay tuned. Okay, I apologize once again. You're probably not going to be able to see this real well. I've just got the camera sitting on the tank here. Here's the fuel pump. You see there's a little tab. That little tab has to face towards the front. And then you just kind of finagle it into place. Make sure it's good and clean. Don't force anything in there. Oops. Sorry about that. Arm hit it. And I may have to actually end up moving the camera. It's kind of in the way, but hopefully, there we go. Push it down there slowly. I have to scoot the tank back. It's going to be kind of noisy. Actually, I have to lift the tank up a bit too off my jack. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll be right back. Okay, we've got it lifted up a bit. Go ahead and push your O-ring all the way up to the fuel pump. And I guess in this video, kind of an all-for-one deal. You get fuel pump replacement, and you get gas and all that, because in order to replace your fuel pump, you're going to have to do this. So make sure that O-ring is seated. Again, don't force anything, and then push it down. I am going to have to move the camera. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to film. Well, actually, you know what? I'll be right back. I'll try to put something under it so we can get this all the way in. So I probably should have unhooked it, but anyway, you get the point. Be right back. Okay, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see me do this. I just do not have any room at all. So I'm going to go ahead and put the fuel pump in, and then we'll go ahead and we'll show you how to strap the tank up, if I can get that in there as well. But that's really kind of self-explanatory. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Okay, we've got the fuel pump in. Now it's time to lift the tank up. And again, probably should have thought this out a little bit better. We're not going to be able to film it. Do apologize, but I try to get everything I can, but some of the things I just don't have the room for under the car. So we'll go ahead and get this up there and strap down, and then we'll show you how to replace the fuel filter. So we should get some, maybe a little bit of educational out of this. So stay tuned. Okay, now you can see we've got the tank all nice and mounted up, straps, all that. All we've got to do is put our fuel lines on, and a new fuel filter, and the tube filler neck. That's really about it. Again, sorry I couldn't really film putting that up. It's just there's not enough room under here. I'm actually holding the camera right now. The fuel filter, just this here. And I guess we'll go ahead and show you how to put that on. It's dark out, so quality may not be all the greatest since I'm using this other camera. But this is just a replacement filter, and we'll show you how that goes on, so stay tuned. Okay, hopefully you can see where I've got those pliers. I'm just holding the nut on the other side. It's kind of boogered up. So one side is threaded, the other side is a push. Basically, we'll just go ahead, little holder there, put it in there, go ahead and thread this on, and then we'll thread that on, and then the other side it literally just pushes on, but I'll show you how that works, so stay tuned. Okay, unfortunately this is the conclusion of the gas tank video. Remember I said I was using my old camera, which I am using right now. Well, unfortunately, I did not realize about halfway through or towards the end there, I was recording and the shutter was stuck closed on the camera. So as soon as I realized it, I had like one more bolt to go. I'm like, well, I'll stop it and keep on going. Try to fix it. Could not fix it. Didn't want to risk bringing my $1,000 camera out here, so I didn't. And I did finally get it freed up. I had to take the camera apart, and there's a little gear in there. Just had to push that, and now the camera works again. But unfortunately, I did not catch the last part. But hopefully, from the removal, you can kind of get an idea of the installation. I mean, it's the exact opposite, obviously. So I apologize for that. It wasn't anything I cut out. It wasn't, anything like that. It just, the camera literally stopped. The shutter, it just, when I turned it back on, didn't realize that it was closed, and thought it'd be an easy fix just to keep on, but it didn't. But saying that, this kind of doesn't apply to this video, but I've got another, not a project, but it's a buddy's four-wheeler he brought over, Suzuki, I think it's a 230, I don't know, 250. But it won't start, so I will have some videos hopefully in the next few weeks of this. Also, like I'd mentioned earlier in the video, a week ago, again this is July 4th, I've been doing some work around my house, some flooring and whatnot. Finally got my garage kind of cleaned up. There's a little Suzuki still over there, but it was a mess with all the wood, the laminate flooring and all that in here. So I do apologize. So hopefully you'll understand that these things happen, and I'm not going to take that gas tank back down to redo that video, because holding up by yourself, even with the jack, is pretty difficult. So not too difficult. It's just not fun. So anyway, I apologize again, and look for more videos. Hopefully we'll get some riding videos. As I mentioned, this weekend would have been perfect. They're not open. The track's not going to be open again until the weekend of the 16th. So hopefully I'll go out that weekend. I did hurt my leg, so not on the bike, but it worked. So hopefully I'll be able to ride though. But as always, thanks for watching, and please feel free to post any questions. Thanks.